point in searches, we find it most productive to focus on our discussion on candidates that you'd like to learn more about during the interview process. As we move forward, we will conduct references, background, and academic verification. And we are on schedule for interviews August 23rd and 24th. I'm happy to answer any questions about the candidates, but otherwise I'll turn it over to you, Mayor.
Any questions for Ms. Lewis at this time? Okay. Well, I think it's probably best that we just go through the list alphabetically and talk about the pros and cons of each of the candidates, and we're hoping to narrow it to 4 or 5, I would assume.
Yes, please. I think that would be manageable in the time frame that we have, and could.
So, Mayor, I might suggest that you may want to focus on each of your top several. And at our last, the manager meeting, when we started talking about the negatives, we kind of got a little bit off track. So perhaps you may want to just start with those candidates in alphabetical order that you actually are fond of or would like to get to know more about. I just am a little concerned about us on the public record airing people's possible laundry. And that's up to you. I think it would be good to stay positive, if we could.
Well, I think so too, but, different people will probably have different opinions, and
Absolutely.
The reasons that they may differentiate as some of the things that I don't think are necessarily negative as much as not as positive as maybe somebody else's attributes. So, I mean, does anyone want to start with the people that they feel confident that they want to see in the next round?
I can.
Okay, Councilmember Beckman.
So I made notes of Mr. Matt Smith, Mr. Alessandro Boxner from Miami Beach, Ms. Patricia Smith, Mr. Margolis of Orlando, and then perhaps Mr. Andrew Mai or Barnaby, Mr. Barnaby. Those were ones I wanted to learn a little more about.
Okay, Councilmember Bunker.
David Margolis, Matthew Smith, and Mr. Boxner. I thought Mr. Boxner's questionnaire, those answers were really strong. And then there were some media concerns, but Barnaby Min also I like.
So you had 4. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Hamilton, or Vice Mayor?
I would, I liked, in no particular order, I like Mr. Min from Miami. I like Mr. Margolis from Orlando. I like, I kind of like Mr. Mayor from Tampa. And both of our internal candidates, I think, are very good people. That's what I hate about this process. I mean, we've got, I've got great respect for both of our internal candidates. I'd like to kind of see where we go.
So I've got you with Margolis, Mayor, and Min. Those are the 3.
Margolis, Mayor, Min, and I guess if you want me to throw another name in there, Mr. Boxner.
Councilmember Albritton?
Good morning, Mayor, Council. I just wanted to say I was impressed by the experience and qualifications of all these people that applied, and I tried my best to look as much as I could through LinkedIn and news articles, and then also council meetings. I looked at a lot of the council meetings. I think my first choice would be Matthew Smith, being in-house, familiar with the work Matthew does, and I do have a good relationship with Michael Fuino. I know he's very good on with a good contribution to our legal staff. Number 3, I would think, would be Ernest Mayer, because he worked a little bit with Pam in the early years, and he's from Tampa, kind of familiar with the area. And then, I started at the bottom of the list and worked up when I originally started researching this, and I was very impressed with Patricia Smith from Palm Bay. She's really pulled herself up by her bootstraps, and I looked at a couple of meetings and saw how she performs. I think I would give her a 4. And then 5 would be Alex Spokesner from City of Miami Beach.
Okay. I was interested in Patricia Smith, Barnaby Min, David Margolis, and Alexander Boxner. Those would be my 4. So what I'm seeing is unanimous on Mr. Boxner. I'm seeing 4 out of 5 for Mr. Margolis, 4 out of 5 for Mr. Min, and 3 for Mr. Smith and Miss Smith. So to me, Mr. Boxner, Mr. Margolis, Mr. Min are definites, and then we need to determine whether we want to do 4 or 5. That gives us 3. Councilmember Beckman.
I think we should do 5. I mean, I would like to say too that I think all the candidates were incredibly strong. I think the material that we were presented with for the city attorney search was much better than the initial material we were presented with for city manager. And the candidates were all very well qualified. And when I looked at things like diversity of experience and years at a city and things like that, there were a lot of close, equally competent and attractive candidates. And so I would lean towards 5 rather than, anything smaller.
I'm fine with 5. If that's what we're going to do, then I would recommend we add the Smiths for efficiency. And that gets us to 5.
Okay, can you call them off? I got the Smiths, Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Alexander Boxner,
Boxner, okay.
David Margolis, and Barnaby Min. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Yes.
I'm good with that.
Yes.
Well, I didn't expect this to be this quick. Councilmember Beckman.
So the next step will be some additional information that will include what?
That's correct. So it will include we will conduct references, we will do their background and academic verification, and send you a report containing all of those materials ahead of the interview process, so you have the opportunity to review that. The candidates will also be completing their talent assessment. We'll overlay those results with the aggregate results of this body. And if there are any gaps, then we'll help us develop interview questions around where those gaps are. It's not a pass-fail. It is how can they bridge those gaps to meet the expectations of this body. And that will prepare us for the interviews on Monday and Tuesday, August 23rd and 24th.
If we have specific questions that I have some follow-up questions based on their responses to the questions you posed, can we communicate those to the candidates through you ahead of time, or does that all just happen?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
I'd be happy to receive those, and I can even delve a little bit further based upon any other questions that
Okay.
you might have.
That sounds good for efficiency.
Excellent, yes.
We are doing individual interviews, though, with the attorneys as well, right?
That's correct, yes.
I would, just so you know, if you communicate those questions, obviously they're public. So.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. That's fine.
Okay. We had 2 internal candidates, and I was really happy to see that. We're going forward with Mr. Smith, but I also want to thank Mr. Fuino. He's got some great experience and very good qualifications. I think he needs a little bit more time in the public sector, but I want him to know that his participation is appreciated, and this is in no way a reflection on his talents. And I think we did have a very good pool this time. I'm very pleased with it compared to our first shot at the city managers. So I know that we're going to find somebody that will be excellent. They are never going to replace Miss Aiken, but I know that we'll have a good candidate at the end of the day. Anybody else?
I would
Vice Mayor?
echo your comments on Mike Fuino. My experience with Mike, and I like, he's kind of a bulldog, and I like where he is to be that bulldog, because the city attorney has to kind of sit above everything and direct the people underneath him. But I like Mike's tenacity. I like the way he basically takes no prisoners. When he's doing it, when he's taking on something, he takes no prisoners. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So I want to echo what you said about him. And I think, again, of the 8, 7, we don't know anything about the other 7, but of the 8 semifinalists, I think every one of them could very well easily have been or be our city attorney. So I appreciate the work you all did.
Any other comments, Councilmember Bunker?
Yeah, I have to agree on the bulldog comments. Perfect. And yeah, my initial thought when I read through everything was these are all terrific candidates. So we can't possibly lose no matter who we choose. But I think we're going to have some really good options to sit down and talk to these folks.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yeah, I agree. I think they were all good candidates, and I think I'm really going to be interested next week sitting down and actually getting more information and actually interviewing them would be good. So I think we did a good thing today, picking 5, and I'll see you next week.
All right. Well, thank you all. Ms. Lewis, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't know if it was worth the trip.
Absolutely.
We are adjourned.